If you thought last episode had a lot of death, destruction, and drama, then strap in. We're about to go on a potentially even wilder ride. Like last episode, I'll be breaking this one into segments for you to jump around and watch if you don't want to listen to me talk about absolutely everything, but definitely keep up the comments. I had a blast reading all of them and responding to all of you on the last video, so keep it coming. Keep coming to the stream. You guys showed up big time. Thank you all for coming by. Of course, I also won't say no to likes and sharing this around. Getting new people exposed to this series would be fantastic. Coming off that last episode, my party was reeling. I had lost Boyd and Reese, I was firmly in last place, and I needed to do something to compensate. So, for the first time, probably since the FE7 co-op, I actually sat down and thought of a plan to get myself back in the running. I do have a couple of options coming up relatively soon, but there is one clear option that will save my run if played correctly. Can you guess who it is? Probably not, but it's Braum. I know it might sound crazy, and I don't think anyone who's ever played Path of Radiance will call Braum any kind of savior or top-tier unit, but we have a bit of a unique case here. Like I mentioned in the last episode, durability is key. That's why I snatched that Seraph robe for Sorin. And when we talk about durability and reliability in that regard, there really isn't anyone better than a general. So I looked at Braum's stats and his caps, and every unit in Path of Radiance caps HP at 60. Braum gets pretty close to that with 54 thanks to its 75% HP growth. His strength isn't fantastic at 45%, but it's not terrible either. He'll be able to do some damage, and his defense is strong at 55%, so he'll be able to tank, and with a 25% res growth, which will accumulate slowly over time, he's going to be pretty good. On average, he will cap defense pretty quickly thanks to his high base, and his res should trend up to around 13, which is respectable. He also has a decent starting base speed for a knight at 7, meaning that even with his measly 25% growth, he should level up enough to avoid doubles and maybe even double a few things back. But most importantly, with all of these things going on, it means he's going to be able to survive, and that's what I need most at this point. His early game might not be great. Hell, I probably can't even call it good, but I'm willing to play the long game here. I don't really have that many options. Though, speaking of options, my second best option also happens to join at the same time as him, and that's Kieran. In my first video, I highlighted the importance of Kieran. He gives me movement here in the mid-game, starts with stellar bases, grows very well, and has access to the best weapon type in the game in axes. Kieran's problem is that he's a little bit more frail and also a sabotage target that the others will definitely go after. Nonetheless, these two will have to be the new cornerstone of my team in the mid-game and potentially into the end game. Welcome to Braumville, everyone. Strap in. It's about to get spicy. Now, in order to get Braum and Kieran, I need to free them from their jail cell in Chapter 10, which poses a challenge on its own. Lucky for me, I get Leith in this chapter, who starts instantly transforms and has a whopping 8 moves, so she's able to easily snipe that soldier on turn 1 and grab a pair of door keys. And even if she doesn't, unless both Jae and Speedy commit to completely blocking me from unlocking the door, I can always just break it from range with Sorin, so Operation Door Block here won't really work in general, so we should be fine. Anyways, you've probably been watching footage of Chapter 10 for quite some time by now, so let's get into the breakdown. We start off the inventory management, which you've probably seen, and you saw me do one very important thing. Since both Kieran and Braum join with no weapons, I need to have weapons ready for them by the next chapter, and I'll need good ones. I decided to use my forge here to make a maxed might and hit iron axe for Kieran, and I decided to name it You Killed Raven. This axe will serve as a reminder to Speedy for all of the atrocities he's committed, as well as the death that caused it all. I gave it to Leith to hold it because she's fairly unsabotageable at this point, and I really don't want to lose the axe. I run up and attack the soldier right away, the reinforcements immediately get triggered, and I promise to help everyone survive, and even check the positioning of Mist before I moved Ike to ensure that everyone gets to safety. This was for 2 reasons. The first is simple. I don't want to antagonize anyone early and become the immediate target for our brand new, fresh sabotages that we have. I'm already in last place, and I actually do like having a close competition, so removing any way for me to win would kind of suck. But the other reason is that I actually don't want any of their units dying either, since, as you'll see in this video, I actually wanted to stay in last place if at all possible, and so I knew that if push came to shove, I was going to be saving their units when I needed to. At least for now. And as an aside, I try not to rely on people losing points for me to get ahead. I'd rather earn it myself and keep it foolproof. The failed Tana sabotage has me scarred enough to not rely on anyone but myself at this point. Anyways, Jay and I end up tanking and spanking everyone with Ike and Mordecai, and it wasn't much of an issue because this Ike is broken. Greedy Speedy and evil Speedy have combined forces here, and now he just charges ahead with Oscar and insists that we aren't friends anymore. But, okay, that's fine by me. I know he wants his Nephany recruitment very badly, but I don't think anyone's gonna block him from it, especially since, again, you can just break doors in this game. But to each their own. Oscar positions himself in a hallway and tanks a couple of soldiers before simply breaking his lance and not being able to do anything for the rest of the chapter. At that point, Mordecai is fully transformed and takes over. By that time, Leith had helped clean up the rest of the reinforcements from the east side and unlock the door, officially recruiting Kieran and Braum to the team, which is a massive boost that I very sorely needed. Jay eventually catches up and charges forward with Mordecai, and he positions him at the very top of the map between two knights and attacks the halberdier. This means that on enemy phase, he's going to do enough damage to clear out that entire area. I'm not sure if Jay was going for the escape or not, but this leaves it wide open for me to steal with Ike. I debated for a second if I wanted to do that or continue playing the chapter since there are 4 chests in the room to our left and Volk is all the way on the other side of the map. I don't remember what exactly was in them, but what I do know is that if I gave Speedy an extra turn, he was going to open the chest in the top right, and I didn't want that. So I decided to escape, leaving the boss's master seal untouched and all 5 chests locked. Relatively quick and painless chapter. I got my 2 units and we cleared pretty quickly, which means I get a decent chunk of bonus EXP since I'm in last place. Let's jump into chapter 11, because this is going to be a long one and it'll be split into segments. And oh man, was this a chapter full of excitement, let me tell you that. Like chapter 10, this is a chapter I had plans for. It's a big chapter for me for 2 reasons. I mentioned that I needed to be in last place during this stream, and a big part of that is this chapter specifically. The house in the bottom left has a Draco shield, which is a very important item so early on in the game because adding 2 defense to a frontline unit is game-changing. Braum has enough defense by the time he's promoted so using it on him would be a waste, so Kieran is going to be the recipient of it. This takes him from 10 to 12, which is an instant 20% flat increase in his base defense stat. It might not make a huge difference in the late game, but will help him stay alive during his crucial mid-game development. In order to get this item, I need to be able to get to that house on turn 1 before Speedy does with Oscar or Jay does with Marcia. And by going first and choosing my deployment slot, I can guarantee that Kieran immediately, with a kill and Canto, is able to sit there. I also take the time here in the base camp to kit out Kieran with his forged axe and a vulnerary, as well as make Braum a similarly max power and hit rate lance. We call this lance the Push Pregnant, in order to further bother Speedy. I don't entirely remember when this became a meme exactly, but it's been a thing for years. We were playing Fire Emblem at some point on stream when I told him, we need to push forward, and after that I said, push like a pregnant woman, and that immediately made him uncomfortable. This lance is a tribute to that meme. This is also another reason I wanted to stay in last place. We only get 1 forge per chapter in this game, and I absolutely needed it for both these units moving forward. Now the plan here, aside from the Draco shield, is also to recruit ZaHark. He's an okay unit overall, but having decent quality subs is generally important, and you can catch anyone up with bonus EXP. He also auto-recruits himself if Leith is in range, so why not? And of course, Jill shows up on the bottom right corner of this map, who stays there if you leave her alone. However, she also auto-recruits herself next chapter by talking to Ike, which isn't ideal, especially since Jay is now in first place. Though, when I did think about it a little bit, if I was in last place in chapter 12, I could probably just rescue Ike, and then Jill wouldn't be able to do anything, and she'd probably die to the Ravens. Regardless, if we did also give Jay the Jill recruitment, in addition to having Marcia, he's probably going to run away with the game, especially since he gets Tanith right after the halfway point as well. But I have to think if that's another thing I really want to take care of with all the things I'm trying to do this chapter. Alright, let's jump right in, and again, you've probably already started watching this plan unfold as I talked about it, but we'll move to the recap officially. I discover early on that Braum actually doubles a bunch of these soldiers with steel lances, so I let him tank and feed him the kills. His base defense isn't great by knight standards, so he takes some damage, but this will be a work in progress. Kieran very successfully grabs the Draco shield, kills everyone down there, and uses it on himself, and Leith successfully recruits ZaHark, and I let him and her take care of that top right corner, with the logic that I'll merge with my team near the boss area later. In the middle of the map, a massive group of enemies rushes us down and we have to hold them in the middle by making a wall with Mordecai and Oscar. This was almost a very bad idea because while Mordecai successfully did tank everything, he still took a lot of damage because he didn't dodge anything. He was one combat away from death when he transformed, and because of that, the AI then shifted their attention to Oscar. Very lucky break here, both for me staying in last place and for Jae not losing a unit. While the boys did that, I healed my units and got in a position to help, but because there wasn't any room, I was kind of locked out of combat here. Jill also showed up, I think on turn 5, and that's when things started to get interesting. Speedy said he was toying with the idea of sabotaging Ike into her combat range to kill her. I told him to go for it because, to be honest, it's beneficial to me. It makes sense to do, and I was thinking about it myself already. He even mentioned that Jill was a red unit during the draft, so clearly he had plans from then, or at least plans not to take her because she wouldn't be recruited. In any case, he decided to leave it up to chat to vote for what we do, and I agreed. He said he was going to take a bathroom break, and whatever the vote was at when he came back would be what he'd do. The chat voted yes, which meant that Ike was going to go in and fight. He chunked her down on enemy phase, and when it was my turn on player phase, I didn't hesitate and proceeded to finish her off quickly. So, whose fault is this Jill death in this scenario? Speedy said he'd be willing to take 80% of the blame, but having ideas doesn't necessarily mean you can be blamed for them. After all, we established in the last video that a failed attempt doesn't count against you. Speedy started the idea, chat cemented it, and I executed. I didn't have to listen, and I did finish her off on player phase, though there was no way I'd be able to get out of range anyways, so odds are she's going to die regardless. But if you want to say that it's fair here that I take the lion's share of the blame for the Jill kill, I will. That's okay. I'm fine with that. In response to this, Jae decides to rush down the boss to try and spawn the Black Knight to kill everyone's units. In my head, this is probably fine because we can likely just kill the boss and clear the map before the Black Knight becomes a problem. And oh, how wrong I was. This boss is deceptively strong and tanky. Soren does almost no damage to him, almost nobody but Ike can double him, and he chunks every other unit for a lot of damage both from close and long range. To make matters worse, Jae can't help with Mordecai since he untransformed, and my units are ill-positioned. I asked Speedy if he'll help me box him in at the very least, and he said no, so I just pulled all my units back. I advanced Ike towards the army to try and bring him to help, even though there were still 2 wyverns alive behind us. I also slowly started to move Leith and Zehark, who are now in extreme danger, away from where the Black Knight spawns. We pull back away from the boss, and I guess Jae must have forgotten that there were 2 wyverns still flanking us from behind, and he moved Mist into open space behind our front lines. Ilyana is still back there, and Speedy takes out one of them, leaving just one alive with 1 HP. Now, at this point, I think she's probably safe, as there's no way they double her, but on enemy phase, the wyvern flies right past us, goes straight for Mist, and one-shots her to death. Just like that, Jae goes from first place to last place and completely ruins my plan of staying in last for this entire stream. At this point, the boss is also still being problematic, and he isn't someone who's getting one-rounded without everyone's full cooperation. And with Black Knight breathing down our necks, I figured I'm just gonna have to try and end the map and start making a mad dash for the arrive tile with Kieran. Speedy sees this and says it would be a perfect opportunity for a sabotage. That would be absolutely catastrophic for my plans and take out one of my most important units for the rest of the game. Not only that, this might actually cause us to fail the map if Black Knight gets pulled too far towards us and he starts cutting down all of our units before we can clear it. And it happens. Immediately at the start of my turn, Speedy triggers the sabotage and unapologetically throws Kieran right into the Black Knight's range. I had to think quickly, and I did quickly realize that Zehark is also able to get in range, and so I toss him right in front of Kieran. Earlier in this stream, I told Speedy that I was willing to help him recruit Astrid if he saved his sabotage for that chapter to make Mordecai smite Ike. And I was serious about it. Genuinely, I was being completely honest. But now that he's used it, I don't think I can help him. Ideally, I wish I didn't have to lose any units this map, and I actually would have liked to keep Zehark as reserve just in case. But if I have to choose between the two, I'd have to stick with Kieran, and so I do it. And now I wait. My turn ends with doing some chip damage to the boss with Ike. Jae is attempting to figure out what to do with Marcia up there near the arrive tile, but doesn't do anything else here, and Speedy chips the boss with Oscar. Right after he does that, Jae all of a sudden invokes his sabotage here and tosses Ilyana into combat with the boss from range. She takes a massive chunk of damage and is now basically a guaranteed death on enemy phase once the boss attacks her. We then end the turn. the boss immediately goes first. But in a bizarre twist of fate, he instead decides to attack Braum. Jae's sabotage completely fails, and I get a massive chunk of damage on the boss here. Braum also gets a bit of EXP and levels up speed, which is huge for him. Somehow, someway, Ilyana has survived this, and Jae's sabotage is gone. I'm gonna need someone to figure out the direct code for how Shade works exactly. I was under the impression that it would ignore the attack priority if units within attack range were in lethal range. But here it seems like it didn't. The only conclusion I can make is because everyone in range was able to attack back, based on that, it deprioritized Ilyana in favor of the others because they're all in the same tier of AI priority. And then since Braum took the most damage from the boss, which was like 8 times 2 from the Lagu Slayer that he has, he went for him instead of anyone else because the net damage he would deal is much higher. My never-ending quest for understanding this Shade AI is going to be the death of me, but hopefully one of you guys knows more than I do and can help me understand, or at least tell me if I'm thinking right. After that, as if to tease me slowly, every single other enemy on the map moved until it was the Black Knight's turn. This was the moment of truth. All of our breaths were held. It was dead silence. In theory, since ZaeAIK takes more damage, he should be the one that's targeted. I banked everything on it, and...
Yes! Yes!
Fuck!
Move.
Damn, I really wanted to kill Kieran there. I'm so sad.
I'm a bitch.
Bingo. I nailed it. He goes for ZaeAIK and kills him. I'm still taking the minus 25 here, and I am 100% blaming this on Speedy as a direct kill because it was either ZaeAIK dies or Kieran dies, so he has blood on his hands regardless of what I do. But this way, I'm able to save the more important unit, rush to clear the map objective, and progress my plan. Now, both Jae and Speedy's sabotages are off the board and will not refresh until Chapter 18, which means I have all that time between now and then to safely level up and nurture my units without fear of them being unpredictably destroyed. The minus 25 also conveniently puts me back in last place, which I'm honestly not too sad about. And if I'm gonna be completely honest, the next chapter is the most important one to be in last place for, and you'll see why soon enough. It was so important that I would have even considered sacrificing ZaeAIK myself for free if I needed to. But anyways, what happened. The rest of the map was easy and we managed to win, but 3 units died this chapter. Jill, who Speedy himself said he wants to take 80% of the blame for, though I won't give it all to him. Mist, who is a complete blunder by Jae, and ZaeAIK, who I am absolutely putting on Speedy's tally. Ilyana and Kieran, both the targets of sabotages, survive by the skin of their teeth for now. I'm also going to pause here very quickly to bring up something funny that I noticed before the stream since we're talking about deaths. In the last stream, Boyd was on the thumbnail and he died. And this stream it was Mist, who also died. But before the stream I did go back and look at thumbnail units in Sacred Stones, and every single one of them ended up dying except for Ephraim and Myrrh, who are both pretty hard to kill in that game. The FE7 ones didn't have as strong of a correlation, but we also had a third of the sabotages there, so it was harder to kill units off. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Is the curse of the thumbnail real? It's just a quick aside and an interesting tidbit of the stream series lore for you guys, and we'll move on very quickly now. Chapter 12 is upon us, and this one is honestly kind of a tough one usually. You're locked on a boat and ravens fly in and attack you from all around with a lot of potential for squishy units to die. Lucky for me, since I'm in last place, I get to bring 3 strong units in Leith, Kieran, and Braum in addition to having Ike. This Ike is completely cracked. He has 18 defense, which means that out of 19 of his level ups, he gained defense 13 times, which is the equivalent of a nearly 70% growth rate, and is 6 points ahead of his average in defense. When he promotes, he'll have 21 defense, which is basically what his average would be at if he were to reach level 20, promote, and then reach level 15 as a promoted lord. He also has capped speed, which is pretty crazy. I forged a random Iron Lance here to simply block the forge from being used because this chapter is really important for me to monopolize kills. Not only are there a ton of stat boosters and good items on the enemies, including a Seraph Robe, Aurum Scroll, Secret Book, and Blue Gem, but the enemies also give a lot of EXP, meaning that if I can clean it all up myself, I'll gain a lot of item economy and experience for my units. And I did exactly that. This was an absolute masterclass and magnum opus in execution. Every single kill in this map, except the boss, went to me, and they were pretty evenly distributed between Kieran and Braum, with the exception of 1 or 2 Ravens that I had to clean up with Ike. When the time came around to kill the boss, I pretended like I misclicked with Ike to set up the kill for Jae, because I was thinking I might be able to stay in last place by the slimmest of margins and just overtake next chapter. It worked, and Jae took the boss kill, even though I think he didn't want it, and also wanted to be in last place, but he didn't want to give Speedy the blue gem, so he went for it, which was probably a good idea. In hindsight, this was a terrible idea from me because we ended the stream after this map, which I probably should have just pushed to do chapter 13 while I was in last place. My oversight was that I didn't factor in kill points into our totals, and since I basically dominated these 3 maps with my units, I was now actually ahead of Jae on total points once we ended the stream. The final count ends up being 68 points for Speedy, 57 for me, and 52 for Jae. For those who are curious, I have a grand total of 123 kills, meaning I actually have more kills than Speedy and Jae do combined, with Speedy having 76 total kills and Jae having 38. It is kind of crazy to think that 24 of my 57 points are due to kill points, but also that I've lost a total of 75 points from deaths, while Speedy and Jae have lost 25 each. So that's that for this stream, and the next stream will probably be another fun one to try and strategize as we approach a possible bloodbath on the next boat map. But that'll be a story for next week, and I'll see you all in another video very soon. Peace.
You care if I do this now?
No, go for it.
16, right?
Yep.
Give me strength, please. No! No! Mark my words by the power of Dark Speedy!
Wait.
Karma, bitch!
No, I was doing a bit. Oh, this is just embarrassing now.
That is tough.
By the powers of Dark Speedy, I promise I will get my revenge!